You're welcome to the political discussion here on AM Ghana Show. Unfortunately, we couldn't bring you the newspapers, but you should visit our website on adonysonline.com and you find the trending stories, most of them there. There are some others that are developing, and so you can find them also on our page. But like I said earlier to Lady Julia, I said I wanted to either sing the national anthem or recite the national play. And what does it say? I'm sure you'll be doubting that I'll be able to say all. I want particular words. I want to reiterate particular words. It's a promise that we give. And I think that we haven't really thought about the words that we say. It is just going to be compared to we going to church and singing certain hymns. Or for Catholics or Anglicans, we chant certain things. And it has become a norm. We do it all the time. We don't really sometimes pay attention to the words that we recite or we chant. We are promising on our honor to be faithful and loyal to Ghana, our motherland. And with that promise, it means all other things that we are supposed to do to make sure that Ghana is protected. And you know, with the quote of arms, it says freedom and justice. We have to make sure that these things are seen in our daily activities. And why am I coming with this? There's a lot going on with regards to the economy, with government, with the country, with the president, with the judiciary. You know, a lot is going on. And we wanted to get to the end of it where we can have major solutions to some of these problems, not rather compounding them or impounding them, making them bigger by the time, and seeing that politics is playing its tricks on some of the cases where you see that there's no role at all for politics to even play in. But you know, it comes in. Someone has an issue and then it has to be politicized. And so one political party doesn't want to be unfamiliar. If you try to do that, then they pick you on. It is worrying. Meanwhile, fuel prices are also going up. This morning, 7 cedi 99 pesos. Just this morning. It is too much. Dr. Bamia said, they are crippling us. It is hurting. They are hurting us. The ordinary Ghanaian might not be able to fend for him or herself using 10 Ghana cedis to take breakfast and even give some to the family. A big good morning to you once again. My name is Anastasia Badu, and now for the political discussion with a gentleman you always see here on Friday. Well, I'm privileged to introduce to you my very good friend. Well, today one is not here, but a big good morning to him wherever he is, Dr. Benatutu Boahim. But I have here in the studio Dr. Gerald Nyanyufio. He's a lecturer at UPSA. Dr. Nyanyufio, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Anastasia.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
And how is school?
We are on course.
Are you on course?
We are on course.
On course at home or on course in school?
We are in between.
In between. All right. So that's Dr. Nyanyufio. I'm a lecturer at UPSA. And also Justice Dose. Justice Dose is a former appeals court judge here who helps us understand some of the issues we bring up. We're speaking about corruption, issues of law, and all others. Justice, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
Good.
You're looking smart.
Well, by the grace of God.
Ah.
Let me take the opportunity to also say hi to all the listeners and the viewers. Yes.
So a big
we are
good
here
morning.
to help people understand what is going on.
Yes. And that's what we've been doing. Thank you so much, gentlemen. And that's a big good morning, a warm one going to all our viewers as well. This morning we are talking about fixing Ghana. You know, the conversation is interlinked. It cannot stop somewhere and start on a new page or afresh somewhere else. We spoke about corruption last week with the two gentlemen and then Dr. Benatutu Boahim, who unfortunately isn't here this morning. And we even mentioned that it's going to continue because, you know, governance is continuous. And so as the actions of people go on, so do some of the decisions and policies that we make also go a long way to affect our lives. If not abruptly, it goes a long way to affect our children, our generation yet unborn, and others. And so today we are looking at how to fix the country. In that regard, we'll be making some references in this book that I have here that Julia mentioned slightly. There are some key things in this book that we might want to be picking on, but the main thing we are saying is that fixing Ghana, the who and the how. So whose duty is it to fix Ghana? Whose duty? And how do we fix Ghana. Of course, all the conversations we've had earlier in the weeks past are also ways that we've seen that could help manage Ghana as a country. We have come far to be failing. And so today, that is what we are talking about. You can join the conversation on Facebook, Advert TV Ghana, YouTube, Advert TV GHS. For any messages you want to send across, you can freely do so on our WhatsApp numbers. It will be on the screens, or you can even send it on Facebook as well. So, quickly, gentlemen, starting with justice, we have seen a release by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Medina constituency. I'm speaking of Honorable Francis Xavier Susu, about his comments on the judiciary not being partisan. Well, let me get. I want to read what it says carefully so I don't misquote. It says that in response, statements by the Association of Magistrates and Judges of Ghana on the interview granted by Honorable Francis Xavier Susu, Member of Parliament for Medina constituency on Thursday, the 10th day of February 2022, and he is saying that, well, his statement has been misconstrued. He says that my attention has been drawn to a publication made by AMJG to the press, dated, and it's there. Okay, so that's where he also picked it from. That Martin Luther King says that if a man does not have anything to die for, that person is not worth living, and goes on to say that, let me unequivocally say that I respectfully respond to the release at the peril of my own career as a lawyer, and have come to realize at this point in my life that I must stand up to my convictions. Well, the release will not stop me from my continuous critique of the judiciary when need be. After all, one of the tools by which citizens can demand accountability of the judiciary is through public criticism. Before I continue, let me ask Justice, since he is also a law person and coming from a court, maybe he will want to throw more light on it for us all to understand. And Dr. Yanufi will also add up if need be. Justice, let me ask you, is that correct with what the statement he just made? Is that correct?
It is correct or incorrect depending on the point of view from which you are looking at it. I'm not clear in my mind what his motivation is, but as I said last week, perceptions are not always realities. There are real perceptions, misconceptions, misperceptions, and all this in between the words. I don't know what experience drew him to come to the conclusion that some judges are being politicized in the system. But let it be clear that in a democratic dispensation such as this, people are bound to understand things from their own points of view. Sometimes it seems as if when a judge is brought from a higher court to come and try a case at a lower court, people think that that judge is being brought down to come and do a particular thing to favor the government. It may be false, it may be otherwise. Sometimes, if a judge has a specialty in a particular field and you want to bring finality to the issues at stake, it is good to bring somebody either from the lower bench who has a special knowledge to come up and help, or somebody from the higher bench to come and help. But sometimes when the shoe is tight on your foot, you think differently. When it is loose on your foot, you also think differently.
Yeah.
So for an accused person, if a judge from the higher court is being brought, he might think that, well, this one is coming to nail me. If a court appeal judge tries me in the high court and convicts me, how can I appeal? It is a perception. But it has happened on several occasions that judges who have been brought from the higher court to come and try cases at the lower court had their decisions overturned by their own colleagues in their own system. And I can say that it can be embarrassing if you are an appeal court judge and you are brought down to a higher court to come and try a case. You have finished the case and people appeal and your own colleagues decide that your decision is wrong. It's embarrassing. The question I used to ask myself sometimes is, okay, is it because those who are in the high court or the lower court are not capable of handling the matter? That is why a judge from the higher court is being brought. Or is it because the judges in the appeal court or the higher courts don't have enough work to do that this is done? My simple advice to those who are concerned, particularly the Chief Justice, is that if he can, he should stop that practice. It doesn't sound well in the ears of those who are being tried, and their relatives and their friends. Yes, so maybe if he stops it, it will stop the misconception, which makes it look as if that particular judge is being brought down to come and nail
particular agenda.
Yes. So my colleagues down there, it is painful if your good intentions are sometimes misinterpreted, but that is part of the game. But it is better if you can avoid some of the things that bring this kind of conceptions or misconceptions. Yes. So it is all a learning curve.
Okay.
Mr. Sosu himself, as you have read, realizes that he probably has crossed the bar, or he's being misunderstood, whatever it is. What is not correct is for anybody to threaten judges. Generally.
But was that a threat? That statement was
No, that's not correct. The first one I heard was, it's like he was saying that they are marking down those judges who are political, so that when the tables turn, they'll come and punish them. that's what I heard. But that was on the airwaves. You see, there again we go. Misinterpretations. People take a statement by somebody, they pass it around, and by the end of the day, it is a completely different thing that the interpretation that they give to it. So what you start as red may turn out to be pink, depending on who's interpreting it, or it may turn out to be violet, depending on who is interpreting it. So it is also part of the problem with our press. Unfortunately, the press tends to exaggerate things because they want to be sensational. So if you don't exaggerate, then you are not publishing news. If you publish the news as exactly as it is, then you have not got a scoop.
Sure. As for exaggerations, well, in the tenets of the work, we are not supposed to. You are supposed to be precise and make sure that you are hitting it right at the head, whatever you are supposed to put across. But Dr. Nanyufi, let me ask you, in your view, per the comments made by the Honorable Member of Parliament, how did you take it? Did you just, as Justice is saying, that it could be bad, it could be good? Others think it was a threat, and like Justice has also reiterated. Did you see it as that?
Okay, so ordinarily, since the Justice has spoken, I would want to refrain and say that I wouldn't have much useful comment to make on that. But let me add my voice in saying that the nature of our governance architecture requires that there will be three key actors of the state machinery: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And the judiciary is supposed to be independent. Where there is any conflict with the interpretation of our constitution, it rests in their bosom. And one famous maxim in justice or jurisprudence is that justice must not just be done, but it must be seen to be manifestly and undoubtedly being done. And so the independence of the judiciary is paramount. And any perception of bias or caprice or arbitrariness on the part of any judge undermines the public trust, the confidence that we have in them. Any ordinary citizen should be able to access the courts and find justice. And so it's very worrisome when such comments really come up, particularly from a member of parliament. And it appears that such comments will cause public disaffection for our justices. And it's particularly in bad taste at this time of our governance arrangement. Be that as it may, I feel that we are all political animals, and justices also vote one way or the other. They all have their political affiliations and leanings and connections. They vote on 7th December of every 4 years. So we cannot really say they are independent in the truest sense of the word. They might have their own leanings, but that should not reflect in how they exercise their statutory duties. And perhaps, as Justice has said, the arrangement of justices in handling cases may give a semblance of some bias on their part. Plus other corruption indices that have indicated that right from the presidency to the police, the courts or the bench or the judiciary appears to be one of the seemingly corrupt institutions. So all these would add up to fuel such commentaries by any political operator. But having said that, I think the timing and the form that the comment was presented appears to be in bad taste. It could be the truth, but how you present it and the forum or the platform or the mode of communication might take a lot away from what is perhaps supposed to be the truth. And it's unfortunate.
But let me follow up quickly with this. Would it be that right from, or this will be on the shoulders of the appointments of the president, that so far as with that appointing judges of the Supreme Court and others are done by the president, then it means that whichever government that comes in power tries to get people to favor him or her, whichever government that is in power. And
let me answer this one quickly. There is a long process of winnowing before the president writes the letter of the commission of appointments. At that point, the president had very little input. The president doesn't really nominate people except when they are going to the Supreme Court.
And so who does?
It is a process, a very intricate process. An examination is taken, an interview is held. Subsequent to that, the results are presented to the Judicial Council, which consists of our 17 eminent Ghanaians, who chaired by the Chief Justice, who would determine which of the people who have made the pass mark should be put or promoted or elevated to the particular bench. And if you look at that system, if it is properly done, then the issue of bias is not there. But you see, some misinformed or ignorant political commentators will say, well, when we were empowered, 5 of the people in the Supreme Court were appointed by us. Therefore, they will vote for us. They will determine the case in our favor. When ignorant people go out, ignorant big men go out there and spew out this kind of nonsense, what does the ordinary person do?
Fix it.
He has no choice.
And to agree with them.
To agree with them. But that is an abuse of the system itself. I remember during some of the political during the conflicts in the 2013 presidential, some political commentators were as bold as to say that 8 of the people on the panel were appointed during their time, so therefore they are going to win. a good lawyer and a good judge who should perform his functions devoid of his political affiliation, if he has any. But voting for a party may not be a vice hold. You can change your mind anytime. But being a member of a party is what can influence your decision wrongly. But any professional who wants to do his work well, because every decision you take as a professional is recorded. It's going to stand the test of time. Currently, there is Bafo Akoto's son, who is the current minister is launching a competition for his father's detention by Kwame Nkrumah several years ago. And those judges who took the decision against his father's detention, if they are alive today, I'm not sure they'll be comfortable for the wrong decisions they took at that time. But you see, here is the situation, we are always whipping the dead horse. Every time is Riakoto, and people are repeating the same Riakoto again. So what is the problem? Are we learning arbitrariness in the judiciary? Is what is exemplified by the decision in Riakoto. That was about 1961, and we are in 2022.
Yes.
Almost 50 years on.
Oh yeah.
Yes, almost 60 years on.
Almost
61 years on, and I don't know how old the current minister was at that time. But obviously he was a child.
You might not remember everything that happened.
Because in 1961 I was in secondary school, Form 1. So
I was not dreamt of.
So still in his mind, he still feels hurt, and he's taking steps to ensure that it doesn't happen again. I don't blame him. He's entitled to it. Because you see, for the 4 or 5 years that the father was imprisoned for free speech. For free speech. His father was in prison for free speech. For 4 years, I don't know how old he was, but if your father is taken away in those circumstances for 4 years, as a young boy, you will miss your father. And it will put an indelible mark in your mind about anybody who wants to try to do that kind of thing. So, whilst I'm not blaming him for doing what he's doing, I think that he should also help looking at the position he holds to ensure that arbitrariness in any form in governance should not be encouraged. The Constitution says that if a public officer is required by law or his function to be fair, then he must be candid. So, judges are public officers. If the law requires them to be fair, then they must also be candid. I know you understand what I mean by candid. They must be open.
Yeah.
So they must be openly seen to be doing something which is fair. But as long as people perceive you as being unfair or arbitrary in doing what you are supposed to do fairly, then you are falling short of the mark.
So it could be that you might be doing the right thing, but because of the perceptions people have and the continuous actions you have portrayed of unfairness, they might not even trust you when it happens that you are dealing with the case the way it's supposed to be dealt with.
Right.
Well, the issues of law, I think that it will take us a whole lot of time for us to understand. Like Justice just said, it comes from somewhere. So the president has no sole responsibility, 100% responsibility for the appointment of any justices in the Supreme Court or any other places. But you know, we don't know all these things, and like you said, we have to learn. And like the quote of the day said, we must learn as if we are not dying. All right, and so this will also have a link with what we are talking about, that who and how do we fix the country. Well, some people think that the colonial rule has had an effect on us. and for others we didn't learn anything from it. And to others also comparing us to some other countries who actually were in it for a very long time before getting independence. They try to juxtapose these two countries, especially Ghana, and then let me mention South Africa, looking at development and how they do their things. You know that the conversation has always been around learning from the best, because they kept a longer time to come out of colonialism, and then they became independent. We were fortunate to come very early. Doc, let me ask you: will you buy this idea that the fact that we became independent early, we're not able to learn certain things to be able to change our country? Maybe looking at how the Europeans lived and how they did their things, for us to even have some of the things that they have, so that will not be marked as developing country, but at least we could have been doing well or better than we are doing now.
Yeah. So the question is, by whose standard are we measuring our level of development? I'm sure the literature will tell you that culture and civilization are the same. Civilization is just an enhanced or a more desirable state of life, but it is grounded on your culture, your values, your ways of doing things and all that. So within the context of this conversation, we said we were prepared for our independence and no other time than now. That was a contention between the UP Convention People Party and then my own tradition, where my political views actually coincide with. And we were prepared for our independence, and rightly so. That was the mantra at the time, that we were prepared for our independence, and then we should demonstrate to the whole world that the African is capable of his own affairs. So what went wrong? The patois expression, what got broke that we need to fix post-colonial? I think largely our problem has been the canker of tinkering with our development agenda. We've not had any overarching policy that can run through. Yeah. 10 years running, 20 years, 30 years running.
That no matter the government that comes
into power. We don't have an independent national development planning authority. Every 4 years or 8 years, with a change of government, we see a reconstitution of membership of the National Development Planning Committee. Talking about South Africa particularly, I'm sure Justice will agree with me that the whites practically built South Africa for themselves. So there are some suburbs or counties in South Africa where you can look at them and practically feel you are in the West. There are some universities that are high ranking.
America.
You see, and that brought a lot of agitation between the apartheid and the locals and the governments. But we are here in Ghana, and what has gone wrong, and we need to fix. Like I said, our development policies have not run the fullest, and there is so much jealousy between political operators. We know that Muslims, for example, and Christians have the same philosophy. They know that there is an afterlife. So they are the same people. They believe in Allah. But you see two political operators who will never agree on anything. So for them, it's about life and death. One political party will do something right that needs continuation. You earlier said that government or governance is a continuum. It's a change in continuity. One political tradition will come and just undermine the successes that we have chalked for 8 years and continue on a different trajectory. So this is where we are, and we have to fix. Otherwise, I would say that development is what we believe it is. It is grounded on our culture. We should believe in ourselves. We shouldn't use Western standards. If you are looking at literature on development, they'll tell you state of our Greek industrialization, take off, and then you fully achieve development. But those theories do not sit with our context. We must develop our country the way we best feel and are capable of doing.
That's very true. And so in development theories, there was something that was taught, westernization, where the Western were trying to infuse what they have in the into the African culture. And like Dr. Nyanyufio said, it has to do mainly with our culture. So you look at your cultural practices and see which one even is best. And that is where you have people or new trends with fashion, with other things coming in. And then at a point, we always forget what we have as Ghanaians, what makes us unique, what identifies us as a country. And that is what Dr. Nyanyufio is speaking of. Justice, let me come quickly to you. Will you agree solely with Dr. Nyanyufio on that? And that, well, development, and we were ready for our independence and everything. Would you agree with that comment?
I agree perfectly with them, and I even have more
to add.
Colonialism didn't teach us democracy. It taught us arbitrariness and oppression. That is why we fought for independence. So what our forebears learned from the colonialists is what we are seeing today, because that's what they are used to. Arbitrariness. There was no democracy during in colonialism. It was a military occupation. So some of the things that people are repeating are exactly what they learned from the colonialists in those days. So then again, the issue, as he said, about his political tradition. You see, when there are many ways of getting to Kumasi, for example. There are many ways anybody, you can, if you decide to go to Kumasi through Cape Coast Road, you can still get there. Yeah. If you want to go through Koforidua, you can still get there. It depends on where you want to go. But as a nation, we must have a plan. If we disagree on whether we should go through Cape Coast, or we should go through Nsawam, or we should go through Koforidua, and we don't come to a consensus, and I start building the road from Accra to Kumasi through Koforidua, and my opponent comes in and sees after 4 years I haven't finished that program, he feels entitled to come and start from where he thinks the road must pass. 4 or 8 years down the line, he hasn't reached Kumasi, and there's a change of government. Then the opponent decides that I must go and continue from where I left off. With that kind of attitude and mindset, this country is never going to get anywhere. See, I used to tell my children that who teaches you is your master and controls you for a long time. He who feeds you also commands you and rules you for a long time until you are able to feed yourself. And he who lends you money enslaves you. So once you decide that you are going to borrow money from anywhere, you are going to get yourself enslaved, because you are not going just to pay back exactly what you have taken. You are going to take more. You are going to pay more for what you have got, and particularly when you don't have any means, definite means of paying back, then you are in a big trouble. Why do I say that? The little economics I learned showed me fundamentally that if you produce more, you earn more. But in our environment, if you produce more cocoa today, the price will fall. If you produce more gold, the price will fall. If you produce more diamonds, the price will fall. If you produce more aluminum, the price will fall. It's only in the Western world that when you produce more, you get more. What is going on wrong? Now, the drive is to push us to stop eating our own local foods, but rather to eat imported foods. So you go to a Chinese restaurant, all the elite Ghanaians are grouped there, eating very happily, forgetting that they are paying Chinese farmers all the way from China to this country. That's also one of the reasons why you want to grow rice in this country. You have to import the machinery. You have to import the fertilizer. You have to even import the seed. So by the time you bring all those imports in, you have started at a loss already.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why local rice is more expensive than imported rice. Can you imagine? Rice comes all the way from how do you call it, Vietnam or India, gets to Ghana, or China gets to Ghana, and it's cheaper than the rices produced in Dawenya.
And so, please hold on with your submission.
Yes.
With what you've just said, and people ask that what happened to quality is expensive. Where, like you just said, our rice is, we believe that our rice is quality.
Yes.
And so it's expensive.
Yes.
But why are we not patronizing it? But rather we are going for what is from outside, and it's so cheap. And I don't know if we can compare that quality to what we are growing here.
You see, poor nonsense. That's what that is a broken English. Poor nonsense. If you are poor and you are hungry, you cannot be patriotic. Look at the country where I don't know what the minimum wage is now, but if the minimum wage, the last time I got it was about 12 or something cedis a day, which is around $2 a day.
Yeah, 12.53 cedis.
Yes.
$2.
So about $12 a day, and you go out there. The made in Ghana rice of 25 kilograms is selling at say 200 cedis. The imported one is 175 cedis. Which one are you going to buy if you are poor? And you are hungry. So the problem is whether we are doing something to serve ourselves or not. Since 1966, if my memory serves me right, the solution to our economic problems have always been based on fiscal policy, that's monetary policy.
Yeah.
And I beg to differ. Monetary policy doesn't solve our problems. It's productivity of physical goods that solves the problem. Changing penny money over and over, but whatever theory doesn't produce anything. You look at all our budgets in 1966 up to now, it is all tinkering with monetary policy. You can have the money in your hands, but when it comes to the time to use it beneficially, you will find that you are lacking. There are some children in Ghana who haven't even seen cocoyam in their lives, particularly the urban children. They haven't seen water yam in their lives, and some have not even eaten fufu before in their lives. All they eat is rice and indomie. So it means that their minds are being set. When they grow, they are not going to go to buy cocoyam and eat. And they are the urban children who are likely or more likely to be leaders in this country in the next 30 or 40 years. So what are we doing? Let me tell you an experience which I had when I was growing up. I don't know whether you have seen a gallon of cooking oil where there's a handshake. Handshake. I don't know if you have seen it. When we were growing up, America was bringing us milk because they said we were malnourished. So they will bring us non-fat milk, and then they'll bring us cooking oil and bring us wheat. So it was free. Little did we know, or did I know, that they were conditioning our minds and building our tastes for those kinds of foods. So they were bringing in corn oil, they were bringing in sunflower oil and all those kind of things. And our mothers were very much against it. Those days we had palm kernel oil, coconut oil, palm oil, and all those kind of things. But they were telling us that those oils smell. They were smelling oils, so we should not use them. So the children's minds were being set. You go home and you have your own oil. Your mother is cooking with the and that is how they formed our minds. That is why today our women are more likely to buy fried oil than to buy coconut oil. Meanwhile, on the other side of it, in Europe, virgin coconut oil is the best oil in the world. But we are not, our minds have been close to using it. They say it's monosaturate, polysaturate, saturate oil, which is not good for us.
In Ghana, you find someone eating coconut oil when they've been put on diet. When there's a health problem, so, they are supposed to solve.
So the question is, do we know the game that we are playing, which is known as international politics? Do we know it? Do we understand it? 60 years ago or more, my mind was being prepared to reject our local foods. But as a child, I didn't know. And the elders who should know better were even giving them, what you call rebates or tax holidays for bringing those things in. You see, let me tell you another thing. Before 1966 and some time after, we used to have Makola coconut oil, which was coconut oil prepared in a modern way. Okay. And it was being prepared somewhere in, I think, Kita area, Nzima area, and Accra. Makola coconut oil. Then we have gold nut oil. That was groundnut oil prepared in Tamale from those industries set up by Kwame Nkrumah, gold nut oil. So we had those two oils, which were the oil of choice in those days. Then, with the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah, of course, with a lot of mismanagement and all those kind of things, all those companies collapsed. And therefore, we are not producing any oils of our own. So we have to start importing the oil from Malaysia, from Indonesia, from whatever it is. We are even importing the refined palm oil from other countries. So you see, what we need to do right is for us to sit down and agree on the way to go. This political ideology thing, capitalism, socialism, and all, shouldn't really divide us if we have what we need to do to go ahead. Because China has proved that socialism can be efficient. And now America is struggling to catch up with China. In the past, we used to believe that everything from America was good, was the best. But looking at what is happening now, you want to ask whether the stories we were told about America are true or false. Now you have to look at this for yourself, whether it is true or not. But I want to conclude that it is not in the best interest of anybody in this country that we are revising educational curriculum every 4 years. We are, in fact, reversing, not revising, every 4 years. And then we have to start from a different angle every 4 years or every 8 years. It's not probably in our best interest. It's also in our best interest to revise everything that we are doing every time. There's one pitiful thing that I noticed recently. You know, there is a hall of residence in UMAT, Takwa, which is known as a refinery hall. If you don't know, the foundations of that building was a gold refinery that Kwame Nkrumah wanted to do in Ghana, that we had to refine the gold here and get all the byproducts for ourselves before we can export the gold. But it didn't come on. And the best thing that we have put it to is to make it a hall of residence, forgetting that there's any need at all to refine gold, because we have closed our minds that we are not capable of refining gold. No matter what, we can't refine gold. We can't even do the research of how to refine the gold. So we should just take the gold, make it like a loaf of bread, and gold bullion and export it, you know, at a price which we don't determine.
And we don't make any money out of it.
We'll make some money out of it, but what the powers that be want you to get is what you get. That's what I was telling you. When we produce more cocoa, the price falls, and we get the same the same amount of money we got when we produce less. When we produce more gold, the price will fall, and we get the same amount of money that we used to produce when we produce less.
Yes.
Even now that we are producing oil, when we didn't have crude oil, we had an efficient, or whatever it is, a running refinery. Now that we have got the crude oil, our refinery has closed down. So what is the problem?
Is it our mind?
People are still working in the. People are still supposed to be working in the refinery in Tema and are being paid salaries for doing nothing. For so many years, they are managing director, everybody sitting in the refinery, producing not even a drop of refined oil. And they are being paid salary throughout. That is loss. If we can't produce if we can't do the distillery anymore, close the place down and close the damn thing down. Let's go that we don't have a refinery.
It seems as if the one who led us to independence actually died with all the greater agenda he had for the country to be a better place. Obviously, maybe he was not able to get the time to sell his ideas to the people at the time, so that even after his death, they could have even picked it up. But this kind of mentality, who are we going to hold responsible for having such minds? And so I'll quickly come to Dr. Ganyufio on this, that we are talking about who and how. Let me first ask you if you agree that there are certain things we need to change or we need to fix in this country. That's a very quick answer you're supposed to give. And then after that, what do you think we can change?
Right. So, like I mentioned earlier, if it's not broken, you don't attempt fixing.
Indeed.
But as we can all witness today, a lot is broken, and it's broken at every facet of our national life, right from our classrooms, our churches, our private sector, our governance institutions. Everything appears to be broken. And this is directly to address your question about Nkrumah, whether he died with all the ideas. I can assure you that there are millions of Nkrumah currently in Ghana. We have a lot of them in Ghana.
What are they doing?
So it comes back to individuals within institutions. What Professor Achuayi has described as saints, demons, wizards, and systems.
Hey, I'll have to look for
Every
that.
system, in every organization, we have the saints. Saints are those people who have the development of the state at heart. They are altruistic, they want to serve, they are selfless and very hardworking. We also have the demons who would always want to pull the system down. Demons are people who always want to serve their interest, they want to conserve the status quo, they don't want any change because it will not inure to their interest. And whenever there is a change, they want to make sure that that change is in their interest solely. Then we also have the wizards, people like Nkrumah who have a lot of ideas, who have the knowledge, the intellectual capacity and information, adequate information to address problems. And they are there. We can mention a lot of them today in government. Even in this organization, they are wizards. By wizards, we don't mean those who fly at night, but intellectual wizardry. People have a lot of knowledge. And all these players are operating within a context, an institutional context. That's the system, the standard operating procedures, the policies governing organizations, the decisions, and the know-how as to how to manage organizations. So if you find the collection of all these players within an institution, the question is, who carries the day? How do we move a development agenda to the desirable level that we all aspire to be? Are we going to support the wizards to provide more policy direction, to provide adequate information and technical know-how as to how we address problems? Are we going to support and empower the saints who are altruistic and would want to serve at the peril of their lives? Or we are going to clamp down on the demons within the systems? How do we address them? If we are fixing the country, these are the areas we should be focusing on. Now, it doesn't end with the central governance machinery. And that, for me, is to say that we cannot fix this country. It's our children and our grandchildren who would come and fix the country.
Don't you think, Doug, before you continue, don't you think some time back, our parents or our grandparents were even saying that they will not have to fix it, but we will have to come and fix it.
Yeah.
Now we are here and we are saying our children and our generation to come will be the ones to come and fix
So
it.
it's not just a mantra, but certain things must change. We must reform our curriculum. We must teach our children not for tests. We must teach them for life. They should be able to. We must revolutionize our curriculum to tune the minds of people into solving problems, the basic problems around us. We have often heard that university education at best has raised people with certificates and not thinkers. This is where that gap is what we should be able to address. We must teach children right from crèche to the university level to think, to be thinkers. And great nations have raised thinkers. Irrespective of your field of specialty, you should be able to think outside of the box and manage problems. Our churches should also teach the right morals. If Muslims and Christians, if you aggregate the statistics, we are in the majority.
Yeah.
Floating voters who don't go to church are also on the, but they look up to us. And the traditional, in fact, in that realms is where we can even trust because of spiritualization. When they pour libation, they know they are communicating with their ancestors, and so you have to do things right. So if you bring all the religious groups together and we teach the right morals, we teach what we are supposed to teach, not to commercialize our sermon, we will be able to get somewhere. And that's why I came to the conclusion that at best our children, if we start right, they will come and stop the nonsense.
Sure. Anyway, I'm sure there are some others or viewers who are watching who agree with Dr. Anyanyufio that our children will have to be the ones to come and solve it when we get the things right from now. And so if we start imbibing what he has mentioned into our children now, they'll grow up to be thinkers and they'll be able to fix what we have outlined or we have pointed as problems we need to fix in this country. Justice, let me come to you. With the comments made by Dr. Nyanyufio, there's one thing he mentioned that I want to throw more light on, the issue of education, teaching right from crèche. Some people believe that we've been learning the wrong things from crèche, and when you get to university, then you now specialize in what you want to do. That kind of educational system we have in Ghana, do you think is a good one? Or you think there's a need for a change, like he mentioned, change the curriculum to suit from crèche upwards?
Thank you very much. The whole system, there's no system that needs to be fixed. We need to build a system. Most homes are broken. Some basic things that must be taught at home are not being taught at home.
At the parents' home.
That is the problem. So in the past, if you misbehave, they say, "Na mo bi ne." Let's say we don't blame mothers. Sometimes mothers will even take crooks to go and beat up teachers in the classroom. So you cannot be sure whether the school is a place to build the children. Parents are busy looking for miracles for success, breakthrough here, whatever it is there. They won't work. They are praying. Prayer alone cannot bring you physical defense. When I told my children that it took Noah several years of faith to build the ark, they were surprised. And many people don't know how many years it took Noah to build the ark. And how many years it took him to collect all the animals that were put in it. If the churches can sit down with their congregants and tell them exactly the nitty-gritty of how that ark was built and how much food was stored in it for it to stay on the waters for about 1.5 years for the water to recede before they start coming down, we will know that we should plan. We have no plan. Parents don't even have any plan for their children. They want the child to become a doctor or a lawyer or engineer. But how to put them through the system to get to become lawyer or engineer, they don't know. They are not prepared to work for it. To the extent that somebody is going to write an examination and the pastor says, "Come and put your pen under the altar." We pray over the pen for several 3 weeks, 21 days. 40 days. Then when you take the pen, you go and write examination, you will pass. How would that child learn? If he believes truly that is a pen which is blessed by the pastor under the altar, which can make you pass, how will you learn? We have got everything wrong. We need to really build, not to fix. Because there's nothing to fix. The mindset of the average Ghanaian is nothing to write home about. Everybody is praying for a miracle too. Go to lotteries. See how many people are staking lotto. Have you ever seen somebody who has become rich for being a gambler? Go to the football betting organizations. See how many people are gambling there. And see how much they are being cheated. Go to the tithe-taking churches. See how much money the pastors are collecting. And compare it to what social services they are producing or providing. Nothing. The person takes tithes from his congregants and goes to buy a Bugatti car, costing millions of dollars. And you can see some of the congregants or members of the church wearing almost tattered clothes, and they are still paying tithes. You understand that even when he goes to beg for food, and somebody gives him money to go and buy food, he has to take a tithe out of that gift to go and give to the pastor. How can you save in these circumstances? Because savings is the basis for banking. Doctor, if I'm wrong,
exactly.
So a country in which people don't save, you can borrow money. That is why the cost of borrowing money is so high in this country. Because people are not saving. Indeed, if you even save, if you put 200,000 cedis in the bank today, 5 years time, what 200,000 cedis can do today, it can do. You can't do a quarter of it in 5 years time. So the question we want to ask ourselves is this: what are we doing to develop our country? Because the country is only in name. I regret to say, Ghana is only in name. When in 1966, Kwame Nkrumah was also overthrown, some wise people thought that the lyrics of our national anthem should be changed. And for me, the new lyrics of the national anthem are very aspirational. Help us to resist oppressors' rule. And let us follow true humility. How many of our political leaders are humble? So that we can copy humility from them. Everybody is arrogant. Everybody is arrogant. You won't give space. We want people to go to parliament. We want people to go there. Come here, wow, yeah. But when you are sending people to parliament, are you going to fight or are you going to think for the nation? I believe sincerely, we do apologies to everybody, that if you are in parliament and your idea is go and fight, then please resign. Don't go there. Because you want people who can think and create a legal regime for us to use to develop our country. But if all that you are going to do there is to fight and to do things the way you want, you are not listening to anybody and the rest of it, now we have a hung parliament and we are seeing the trouble. But maybe it's a gift from God telling us that
to teach us a lesson.
No, we must now come together and forge a common path for development. Because we cannot be doing here, say, here. I really understand.
Yes, I understand. And that's the last thing I wanted to even throw to both of you before we go, because earlier both of you have
going forward, taking 4 steps forward and taking 4 steps back. Every time you are doing that, I beg, we can't go anywhere
with that. Justice has said it all. We can't go anywhere with here, say. Someone does 4 years, and you come and you also think you have to come and change something. And like both of you mentioned earlier, I want to ask you quickly. And so, I have 5 minutes. So in 20 seconds each. Do you think that it will help us too if we are able to have a national agenda or a policy that everybody is supposed to? Because right at the 2020 elections, right here on Election Zone, we're discussing it. All those who even brought in their comments also said they agree that aside the constitution being changed, we need a national policy that every government at all that comes has to go by. Yeah. And so in 20 seconds for both of you, I'll start with Dr. Nyanyufio. And then after your answer, you can wrap up and say your last goodbyes to our viewers as well. Do you think we need that, and how can we do it in 20 seconds?
Yeah, I earlier mentioned that we need an overarching policy direction for this country. And you go to other countries, for example, and American foreign policy doesn't change. Well, in this country, for example, when one president felt that he would not meddle in another country's political crisis, another president felt that we have to intervene. So what is the national policy, foreign policy of this country? That's the starting point. And that translates into all the sectors of our national life. One economic issue, and NDC looks at it differently, NDC looks at it differently, and then we clash and we get rid of it. Most importantly, I feel we need to fix our minds. We need to fix our minds because when we are in this country, for example, we think differently. When we go to other jurisdictions, we act differently. And in the same vein, when foreigners or Westerners come here, the kind of things they don't do in their jurisdictions, they do them here because of our system. So we need to fix our minds before we can fix the system.
It's as simple as that. Fix your minds, and then we can fix our system. But justice things we don't have. We have to build. And so let me ask Justice what he thinks.
Well, you see, fixing the mind is the beginning of building. Yeah. That is how you will decide what you want and the methods and the tools you need to use to get what you want to get. I will appeal to all those who are in active politics to realize that some of us out there don't see any big difference between NDC and MPP the way they see it. Because it is always I'm superior or you are inferior. But looking at the things that they have been trying to do, I can tell you that the NPP is not a capitalist organization, nor is a NDC a socialist organization, because the NPP has done a lot of socialist contributions towards the development of this country. Likewise, the NDC having done a lot of capitalist contributions towards the development of this country. So I will pray that let us have a goal, and the difference could be with the speed and the quality with which each party approaches and runs the government at a time. In America, it's the same thing. The Democrats and the Republicans are there. They have a goal. But in some parameters, the Democrats move faster than the Republicans. And vice versa for this thing. But the goal that has been set, I read somewhere several years ago, several years ago, that the Americans have a 250-year budget. A development program, and then each government comes and takes a sector of it and implements it. I think if we can do something like that,
it will help us.
Yes, consistency is very important.
Change in continuity.
Great. Thank you very much. You've heard my gentlemen for today, this morning. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's good to have you this morning.
The pleasure is mine.
Justice. All right. So I'll be speaking to Dr. Justice Dose, a former appeals court judge, and also Dr. Joseph Gerald Nyanyufio, who is a lecturer at UPSA. It's been great having them this morning. And a big good morning once again to Dr. Bernard Tutubu, wherever he is. He was supposed to join us today, but he couldn't. And to our technical team and all who were able to watch either on Facebook or any of our platforms, we say a big thank you. To you, to our sponsors, we say thank you for holding us down and making sure that we bring you the AM Ghana show every morning. There's a lot more to learn in here, and I think the next thing I'm reading has to do with saints, wizards, demons, and systems, right? Yes, and I think it's a very interesting one that we all have to go and read, and then find out what the details are. Dr. Nanyufio just touched a bit on it, and I think I've seen something that really interests me. You should do that as well, and do read something that has to do with development and also fixing Ghana. It is here. We have to change what is here, and then we can be able to build. And in building, we'll be able to get a better Ghana for ourselves. My name is Anastasia Badu. I did the show with Juliana Ijeoma. Well, we'll see you same time on Monday. Do have a lovely weekend. It's bye.